Kevin Costner, one of Hollywood's biggest stars, has played heroes, cowboys, and legends on screen. But behind the scenes, he has had to face personal battles he never saw coming. The most heartbreaking battle is how his wife, Christine Baumgartner, suddenly filed for divorce after 19 years of marriage, leaving everyone asking the same question: why? Well, it turns out that the reason for this decision to split from Kevin is rooted in something so shocking and disturbing, and you'll never believe what it is. So, what really happened? What was the final straw that made Christine decide she was done for good? Let's break it all down. Kevin Costner's road to success. You know when you hear a name so often that you just assume you know everything about them? That's Kevin Costner. You've seen his movies, maybe even watched Yellowstone, but do you really know who he is? And are you aware of some of the shocking things that have been going on in his personal life? To understand Costner's personal battles and why he's made some shocking decisions that cost him a lot, we need to go back to the very beginning. Costner wasn't born into fame. No Hollywood connections, no special privileges, just a regular kid from California, growing up in a working-class family. His dad was an electrician, later a utility executive, and his mom worked in social welfare. Pretty normal, right? And for the most part, Costner had a pretty regular childhood. He played sports, loved baseball, and wasn't exactly an A+ student. But here's where things take a turn, because for most of his young life, he actually had no idea he wanted to be an actor. In fact, he studied business in college, and acting wasn't even on his radar. Then, completely by chance, he took an acting class in his final year, and that was it. That one moment changed every single thing about Costner. But the fact remains that deciding to be an actor is one thing, but actually making it in Hollywood? That's a whole different challenge. After graduating from college, Costner did what almost every struggling actor does. He took whatever jobs he could to survive. Do you know he drove trucks, gave Hollywood bus tours, and even worked on a fishing boat at some point? He was willing to do almost anything to pay the bills, while chasing his Hollywood dream. And like most actors, he got rejected. A lot. He was given small roles and background parts, and even when he finally got a big shot in the movie, The Big Chill, his scenes were cut from the final movie. Imagine that. You finally land a big break, and then it's gone. Edited out. Most people would have quit, but not Costner. He's one to stay determined, and that's why his divorce and marriage problems are even more surprising. Costner's first real moment of recognition came with the movie Silverado, a Western that let him show off that rugged leading man charisma. After his exceptional performance, Hollywood finally took notice of him, and once that door cracked open, he kicked it wide open. From there, Costner got several other big shots, and that's how he became a household name in the film industry. But just when it seemed like Costner was already at the top, he took one of the biggest risks of his career. You see, most actors stick to acting, but not Costner. He wanted to direct. And not just any movie. He wanted to make a 3-hour epic about a Civil War soldier befriending a Native American tribe. Everyone told him he was crazy. Hollywood executives laughed at him. They said it was too long, too slow, and too expensive. Studios even wanted nothing to do with it. But Costner believed in it so much that he put his own money into it, and he didn't just prove the doubters wrong. The movie Dances with Wolves went on to win 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. But Hollywood is a strange place. You can be on top one moment, and the very next moment, you're struggling. Unfortunately, that was the case with Costner. For a while, it seemed like Hollywood had moved on from him, and although he still had some gigs, the leading man roles weren't as big anymore. But then, something incredible happened. At a time when most actors would have settled into semi-retirement, Costner found a new way to make a big comeback and dominate Hollywood. And that's what happened with the television show Yellowstone. It was almost as if he took on the role of John Dutton, a powerful rancher fighting to protect his land, and suddenly a whole new generation had discovered Kevin Costner. The show exploded. It became one of the biggest television hits in years, proving that Costner wasn't just a star, he was still a force to be reckoned with. But while this show looked like his biggest blessing, it just might have been one of the reasons for his biggest loss. While Costner entertained the world with this show and brought laughter to many faces, behind the scenes, his personal life, especially his marriage to Christine Baumgartner, was taking the hit and cracking beyond repair. But what really happened between Costner and Christine? Let's break it down. Kevin Costner and Christine's love story. Do you know that before everything came crashing down, Kevin Costner and Christine were once the definition of a power couple? For years, their relationship and eventual marriage was a hallmark in Hollywood, and that's why their divorce came as a shock to everyone. Let's take it back to when things were still rosy for the couple. When they met, Costner wasn't exactly new to love or even heartbreak. He had already been married before to Cindy Silva, his college sweetheart, with whom he had 3 kids. Their marriage, unfortunately, ended in 1994, and for a while, Costner was living the life of a Hollywood bachelor, dating different women, including Bridget Rooney, with whom he had a son. Then, sometime in the late 1990s, fate stepped in, and Costner met Christine for the first time while filming Tin Cup, his 1996 golf movie with Don Johnson. But here's the thing. Nothing really happened between them at first because Costner was dating Bridget Rooney at the time. They talked, maybe flirted a little, but they remained casual. Fast forward a few years later, and they crossed paths once again at a restaurant. This time, things were different, and there was a very obvious spark between them. Costner was super impressed by Christine because, let's be real, she wasn't just a model or some young starstruck fan. She was her own person, and she also had a creative side to her. She was really passionate about fashion, and she ended up turning it into a successful career. Christine started her own business, designing luxury handbags under the label Cat Bag Couture. And these weren't just your average handbags. Her designs were unique and stylish, and they caught the attention of celebrities. Costner and Christine started dating in 1998, and for a while, everything was great until they encountered one big issue that almost tore them apart forever. And it was the topic of marriage. Christine wanted it. As a matter of fact, she was really excited about it. But Costner, on the other hand, he wasn't so sure. And you wouldn't blame him, because he had already been through one failed marriage. And let's be honest, Hollywood marriages don't have the best track record. He was also worried about his ability to be an active father, especially because he had already passed the age of 50. In 2002, after a few years together, Christine put her foot down. She made it clear to Costner that she wanted marriage and kids. And if he wasn't on the same page or excited about starting a family with her, she was ready to walk away. Imagine telling Kevin Costner, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, to either commit or let her go. That takes a lot of guts, and it actually worked. Costner realized he didn't want to lose her. He took some time, thought about it, and he responded by putting a ring on her finger. On September 25, 2004, Costner and Christine tied the knot in a beautiful ceremony at his 160-acre ranch in Aspen, Colorado. It was a beautiful fairy tale wedding with horses, scenic views, and a guest list full of Hollywood's biggest names. Costner even rode in on a horse-drawn carriage. The ceremony was literally the talk of the town. It had the entire media and Hollywood community buzzing. Even after the wedding ceremony, the media still kept an eye on the couple. It was easier because marriage seemed to suit them. And over the years, they built a life together, welcoming 3 children: Caden, born in 2007, Hayes, born in 2009, and Grace, born in 2010. Remember that Costner already had 4 kids from previous relationships. However, he embraced fatherhood all over again. And despite his demanding career, he always talked about how much he loved being home with his family, playing with his kids, and just living a normal life. In an interview, he spoke about how he and Christine were great together and how they always worked together towards the good of their home. He said, "Our partnership has really come into focus about what we do for each other and how we deal with our family. Our house is like a river. You've just got to get into the flow of it." For nearly 20 years, Costner and Christine seemed like one of Hollywood's rare success stories. However, in 2023, out of nowhere, the very shocking news broke that Christine had filed for divorce. People were shocked. What had happened? The couple had always seemed strong, with Costner often praising Christine in interviews. However, as it turns out, things weren't as perfect behind the scenes as they made it look. Costner's representative released a statement announcing the unfortunate split to the world. It read, "It is with great sadness that circumstances beyond his control have transpired, which have resulted in Mr. Costner having to participate in a dissolution of marriage action. We ask that his, Christine's, and their children's privacy be respected as they navigate this difficult time." That phrasing, "beyond his control," immediately set off speculation. What did that mean? Had Christine made the decision on her own? And had Costner been blindsided? Reasons for the divorce. When the news of their divorce broke, it had everyone in complete shock. So many people began wondering what could have caused the split in one of Hollywood's most admired couples. Officially, Christine labeled the reason for the divorce as irreconcilable differences, but the media began digging deep to find the exact cause. Rumors began swirling, and it wasn't long before some sources close to the family revealed that Christine was frustrated with Costner's busy schedule, especially with the show Yellowstone. You see, the show had become such a massive success, breaking records and winning awards. But unfortunately, the production process took Costner away from home for long periods. Then there was a new film project in the works, and this had Costner more and more immersed in work with little to no time left for the family. Apparently, Christine had spent years supporting Costner's career while raising their kids almost single-handedly. Reports had it that she had finally had enough, and she didn't feel like a priority to Costner anymore. She wanted a husband who was present, not always off filming in one remote location or the other. Reports published by a news blog revealed that Christine had given an ultimatum to her husband to either quit the series or ride into the sunset. The outlet also quoted a friend of the couple who said Yellowstone had knocked a hole in their family life. But let's face the fact, Costner has always been a workaholic, and that's part of what made him such a massive star. But when he took on the role of John Dutton in Yellowstone, everything changed. The show became a cultural phenomenon, turning Costner into the biggest name on television. But it also demanded a lot of his time. The filming process of the show wasn't some quick in-and-out Hollywood production. It took months, often in remote locations like Montana, far from Costner's family home in California. And this meant that Christine was left behind at home, raising their 3 kids, while Costner was off playing cowboy. At first, she seemed to accept it, and for many years, she stood by him, publicly celebrating him, attending red carpets and award shows together. After all, she had married an actor, and this kind of lifestyle came with the territory. But as the show's success grew even bigger, so did the time Costner spent away from the family. Sources revealed that Christine started feeling like a single parent who was constantly holding down the fort while her husband was always busy on set or in meetings. Well, things got even worse, and Christine hit a breaking point when Costner committed to yet another season of Yellowstone, despite earlier reports that he was planning to step back a bit. She wanted him to spend more time at home, and when he didn't, the tension between them exploded. But that's not all, because if Yellowstone was a problem, Horizon might have been the final straw. Even before Yellowstone had officially wrapped up, Costner had already moved on to his next big thing, a massive multi-film Western project that he wasn't just starring in, but also directing, producing, and funding. Talk about a triple threat. Costner wasn't new to this. He had poured his own money into that movie even when no one else believed in it, and it became a massive hit. The film Horizon was shaping up to be a similar passion project, but this time, it wasn't just a single film. It was a four-part Western epic, a huge financial and personal investment. For Costner, this was his dream, but for Christine, it meant even more time apart, more stress with looking after the kids alone, and more uncertainty. Reports also surfaced that Christine may have been worried about the financial risk of Horizon. Even though Costner is one of Hollywood's biggest stars, making a multi-film project independently is no small gamble. Some sources claimed she feared that he was stretching himself too thin, not just physically, but financially and emotionally as well. In other words, while Costner was laser-focused on his work, Christine was left feeling neglected. Hence the decision to say goodbye to a life she had known for 19 years. But what shocked people even more was the extremely messy way the divorce process went. The couple had a very difficult legal battle, and this changed the power couple image the world once had of them. The messy divorce process. The divorce process between Costner and Christine wasn't pretty at all, and one of the first major fights in the divorce was about where Christine was going to live. Initially, Christine refused to move out of their shared home, saying she had nowhere else to go. However, Costner argued that their prenuptial agreement said otherwise. According to their prenuptial agreement, Christine was supposed to move out of their $145 million Santa Barbara estate within 30 days of filing for divorce. The agreement was crystal clear. If they split, she had to vacate, and Christine had signed it. But after filing for divorce, she didn't. Instead, she stayed put, arguing that she needed more time and financial support before relocating. Costner, however, wasn't having it, and so his legal team quickly responded, filing court documents demanding that she leave. When you take a closer look at the situation, you'll realize that it wasn't just about the house itself. It was about principle. Costner felt Christine was going against the legally binding agreement they had signed before their marriage, and his lawyers accused her of trying to use the home as a bargaining chip to get a bigger settlement. However, Christine insisted that she didn't have anywhere suitable to go at that moment, and that she wanted to stay until financial matters were fully settled. But given the fact that Costner had already offered her over $1.4 million to find a new place, the situation started looking more like a standoff than a necessity. Finally, in July 2023, the judge finally ruled in Costner's favor and asked Christine to immediately move out of the house. Christine obeyed, and by the end of the month, she was gone. It was later revealed that not only did Costner want her out of the house, but he also filed a court order that prohibited her from taking any other items of property, like furniture, furnishings, appliances, and artwork, from the mansion. Instead, she was only allowed to leave with her personal belongings, like toiletries, clothing, handbags, and jewelry. But the drama didn't end there. Next came the child support showdown, and this is where things really heated up. You see, Christine initially requested a staggering $248,000 per month in child support for their 3 kids. As staggering as the amount is, Christine insisted that the amount was less than what was actually needed to maintain the lifestyle the children were used to, which includes expensive vacations, private tutors, and luxury accommodations. She also insisted that Costner also pay 100% of their private school tuition, their extracurricular activities, and their healthcare expenses. Now, nobody was arguing that Costner should avoid supporting his kids. He had always been a dedicated father. But $248,000 per month? That number definitely raised eyebrows. Costner's legal team fought back hard. They argued that Christine's demands weren't just about taking care of the kids, but about maintaining her own extravagant lifestyle post-divorce, despite the fact that Christine had not listed spousal support in the proposal. The actor initially agreed to pay around $38,000 for the kids, as well as 100% of certain child-related costs. However, in a court filing, Costner eventually stated that the actual costs for their children were closer to $63,000 per month, and that this number was based on real expenses rather than speculation. He also claimed that she was including costs that were not for the kids, but for herself. Christine pushed back, insisting that the children deserved to continue living at the same level of luxury they had with Costner, because, according to her, luxury had been implanted in their DNAs. Well, after a tense back and forth, the judge ruled in Costner's favor. Christine was awarded $63,209 per month in child support, far less than what she had originally asked for. However, the biggest underlying issue in this legal battle between the duo was their prenuptial agreement. Before they got married in 2004, Costner and Christine had signed a prenup that clearly outlined what she would receive in the event of a divorce. It was a protective move on Costner's part, especially since he had already been through one expensive divorce. The prenup stated that Christine would receive a one-time payout of $1,450,000. She would have to move out of the family home within 30 days of filing for divorce, and she would not be entitled to any part of Costner's future earnings. But Christine didn't want them, and so she came up with a legal strategy that seemed like an attempt to challenge the prenup. She tried to argue that the financial settlement outlined in the agreement was unfair, given how much Costner was worth. She argued that his net worth was estimated to be around $250 million, and she believed she deserved more. She even argued that his lawyers were hiding financial evidence that proved just how much he was worth. Her lawyers also argued that Christine never fully understood the details of the prenup at the time when it was signed, and that she only signed because she had been pressured to do so. They pointed out that because she signed without proper understanding of the contract, it could be challenged. However, breaking a prenup is extremely difficult, and Costner's lawyers were well prepared. Here's the part that ruined everything for Christine. Part of their prenup clearly stated that if either party tried to enforce or prevent a breach of the agreement, the other party would be entitled to be reimbursed for all the costs and legal expenses incurred in the process, guys. And so in court, Christine faced a very tough choice. If she continued challenging the prenup and lost, she would be responsible for paying Costner's legal fees, which could have cost her millions. As a matter of fact, the court even asked Christine to pay a portion of Costner's legal fees, which ran up to over $14,000. Costner claimed that he had accrued the amount in the process of her challenging the prenuptial agreement. Eventually, Christine backed down from the fight, and in September 2023, after months of fighting, she and Costner finally reached a settlement. Costner's representative released a statement to the public confirming the development. It said, "Kevin and Christine Costner have come to an amicable and mutually agreed-upon resolution of all issues pertaining to their divorce proceedings. While the details of the settlement were not fully disclosed, it was confirmed the prenup remained intact." At the end of the day, Costner walked away from the legal battle with most of what he wanted. The prenup was upheld, Christine moved out of the house, child support was reduced significantly, and the divorce was finalized on his terms. Christine, on the other hand, walked away with financial security, but not the massive payout she had hoped for. She received a huge sum from the prenup and child support for their kids, but it was far from the life-changing settlement some expected her to push for. It was a tough public and super brutal divorce. But in the end, it played out like a Costner movie, where he fought hard, stuck to his principles, and ultimately came out on top. Most people argued that the divorce favored Costner because this wasn't the first time he had to go through something like that. Before Christine, Costner was once married, and that divorce was so brutal that it's still referred to as one of Hollywood's most expensive divorces. Kevin Costner and Cindy Silva's divorce. Before Costner's marriage to Christine even made headlines, and before Yellowstone turned him into television's biggest star, there was Cindy Silva, his first wife, his college sweetheart, and the woman who stood by him as he went from a struggling actor to a Hollywood icon. Costner met Cindy in the early 1970s at California State University, Fullerton. He wasn't famous or rich, and he was just a regular college student trying to figure out his life. Cindy, on the other hand, was the kind of girl who seemed to have it all together. She was smart, ambitious, and well-liked. She even played Snow White at Disneyland while in college. And we all know that's a fitting job for someone who seems so wholesome and charming. Costner was immediately drawn to her, and they tied the knot in 1978 at a time when Costner was still an unknown actor, struggling to make ends meet. At first, their life was pretty simple. They lived like any other young married couple, working odd jobs, chasing dreams, and hoping for a big break. Then that break finally came, and it changed everything. Overnight, Costner went from being just a well-known actor to becoming one of the biggest stars in the world. Things seemed great at first. However, with fame came an immense amount of pressure. Suddenly, Costner was working non-stop. He was on film sets for months at a time, away from home, away from Cindy, and away from their growing family. They had 3 children together, Annie, Lily, and Joe, and Cindy was left managing the home while Costner was busy chasing his Hollywood dreams. Let's be real, being one of the biggest stars in Hollywood means constant temptation. Costner was working with beautiful co-stars, traveling for months at a time, and surrounded by the excesses of fame. The problems began when rumors started swirling about alleged affairs. One of the biggest rumors involved Costner and a Hawaiian hula dancer while he was filming Waterworld in 1994. Reports suggested Cindy had grown so tired of not just the rumors, but also the distance between them. In later interviews, Costner never directly admitted to infidelity, but he did acknowledge that his fame put a huge strain on the marriage. He said, "A lot of times you learn what you need to learn from your first marriage. Some people figure it out faster than others. I think it's okay to admit that you've made mistakes." When Cindy eventually filed for divorce in 1994, it wasn't just personal, it was extremely expensive. Because there was no prenup, Cindy was legally entitled to half of everything Costner had earned during their marriage. And by that point, Costner was one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood. In the end, she walked away with $80 million, making it one of the biggest divorce settlements in Hollywood history at the time. However, unlike Costner's divorce from Christine, this one was handled relatively quietly. There were no bitter legal battles, no public fights, and no drawn-out court hearings. Cindy took her settlement, focused on her children, and moved on with her life. After how his divorce from Cindy Silva played out, it was only natural for him to stay prepared when he decided to get married to Christine. But what do you think? Was Christine justified in challenging the prenup? Or did Costner handle the situation the right way? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to click on the next video on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to our channel for more updates.